Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Bigten. Yes, the mellow version of here because I'm having some problems with my vocal cords, but that's okay. That means that they call them in the verbal industry called shock absorbers, but only upstairs. But at any rate, my name is Scott Morgan, Rock the Motor City Man Mouth. Glad to have you with us. I'll introduce the crew in a moment. Let me go over the topics really quickly. We're going to talk about the University of Georgia graduation rate. Ooh, my goodness, as Dick Enberg would say. Florida State, getting cold water thrown on them, and they're making some noise for all the wrong reason with the wrong conference. And we're going to talk about FSU's recent loss. Cowboys Ceedeelamb agreed to a contract, and doesn't mean that Prescott's going to stick around. And last but not least, one of the biggest steals of cut down will be Malikwillis as well. So let me introduce the crew real quickly, and that we have Travis Holmes. Welcome to the big show, Travis.
Hey, good afternoon, y'all. Let's talk some football.
You got it. We'll do that, Coach Bono.
Hey, Scott. Good to see everybody. Thanks for having me on this week.
Oh, you're welcome. Always a pleasure to have you. And Bo.
Good to see you guys. Always fun to be here.
Always fun to have you. And last but not least, Mel Farmer, our running back.
Hey, guys. Good to see everybody.
All right, let's get to business here. Okay, we're going to talk about graduation rate. No, we're not talking about my grade point average. We're going to be talking about a lot of other things as well. The University of Georgia's graduation rate for football is absolutely awful. For reference, schools like Clemson and Ohio State have graduation rates at 99 and 87% respectively. The University of Georgia, meanwhile, the football players have a 41% graduation rate. Ouch. All right, Mel, what are your thoughts about that?
That's not good. Obviously, you don't go to the University of Georgia to get an education. You're going to get to the next level. Right. You're going to get to the NFL, and I think that's probably what they're preaching to their players. Most of them are leaving after their third year and going to the NFL. It's very difficult. Some guys are able to do it, graduate in 3 years, but that's very difficult. You have to be very disciplined in order to do that. But they're not preaching that to their players, I think. And I think that's a travesty because a football career is only so long. And they're going to have to and there's only so many guys that make the big money where they make generational type money where they're never going to have to work again. Most of these guys are going to have to go out there and get themselves a job at some point in time. And, that education is something that nobody can take away from you. The game of football can be taken away from you, as a lot of guys found out today. Their dreams were crushed. Their world was crushed. I know my name has been on that list before, and I know how, I know that feeling when you see your name on that cut list, or you get that phone call, or that you get that knock at the door. The Turk comes, knocks at the door and says, "Coach wants to see you and bring your playbook." I know how that feels. So you need to have something to fall back onto that nobody can take away from you, and that's that education that they can't take away from you. And Georgia is a world-class institution where you can get a world-class education, and I think that's very unfortunate that guys are not taking advantage of that opportunity to go ahead and get themselves a world-class education from a world-class institution.
Yeah, 41% is low. I want to go to the chat room. Daniel Berry, happy Tuesday for you. And Below's 22, hola. Okay, I guess it means hi. Is that Spanish? I don't even know. But anyways, is it? Well, I got that right part right. Anyways, don't expect me to say much about Spanish because I'm awful at that too. Or we'll turn it over to Travis Holmes.
I have mixed feelings about the GSR in general because it's sort of a flawed system to try to figure out if it's sort of a flawed system to try to figure out if it's actually gauging what you want it to gauge. But nevertheless, the other stats are out there as far as, Ohio State being in the 80s and Alabama being in the 90s and Clemson and et cetera. So it's an apples to apples comparison. It would seem to indicate that Georgia's players aren't here to do this whole pretend school thing. They're just here to play football. I don't know that I have strong feelings on it if I'm keeping it 100 with you. If I'm being honest with you, I know I should have strong feelings on it, and I know there are a lot of people out there who do. However, we've known for my entire lifetime, for longer than my entire lifetime, that college football was a business. It wasn't. You're not going there to be in school. You're going there to play football, and then if you happen to get an education, awesome. That's just kind of what it is. I've always viewed it as a job. So from my perspective, I don't really like the job is football, college is secondary. And this is kind of just saying that these kids kind of took that to heart. It sucks for them because again, only like 1% of those guys, 2% max, are going to actually make it to the league. So in that way, it's due to detriment to those children, those kids, those young adults, however you want to categorize them. But also, they are kind of seeing this for what it is. If this is a job, treat it like a job. And know that you are taking a major risk. And as long as you are going in that eyes wide open, I don't blame anybody in that. It's kind of is what it is. But yeah, they are going there to play football, and the consequences be damned.
Yeah, 41% still seems low to me. All right, Coach Bono, you've seen it on both sides, especially on the coaching side. Please provide your insights.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with really with both Mel and Travis. And, Mel brings up a lot of great points in terms of, the guys not finishing, and football is going to end at some point, right? And then they're going to need that education. And Travis is correct also in that the system is flawed in terms of how it's measured, right? So, for example, if a student enrolls at Georgia and then after 2 years decides that he's not getting enough playing time and he decides to go into the portal and transfer,
right?
They never get that they're 1 point, they're a percentage point down right now, because it doesn't matter, doesn't matter if said student goes on to another institution and eventually graduates. Right. They're only measuring, the NCAA only measures students that come into your program and then do they graduate within 6 years. So if someone leaves for the NFL, after 4 years and they haven't graduated and they play in the league for 10 years and then they go back and finish their degree, that's still going to count as a zero, and the transfers and all that stuff. And I don't know how aggressive Georgia has been in the portal. I haven't really followed that. But I know like Clemson is not. I mean, Dabo has famously come out and said, they're not into that. They want to kind of do things the old school ways, recruit their student athletes, work with them, see them through the program. So, kudos to them. At the end of the day, look, the administrators, the people at Georgia, they don't care about that, right? I mean, all they want Kirby Smart to do is those kids not get in trouble and to keep winning football games. And there's a lot of places like that. And, sometimes it's part of your, it's part of your expectation or your review, your yearly review with the AD, the academic progress and graduation rate's going to come, going to be part of that conversations, and typically a lot of times I know, my contract that was written for me, there were financial incentives written in there for me. I benefited, the higher our graduation rate was, the higher our GPA was, I was a beneficiary of that because I had bonuses and clauses in my contract that were tied for that. So there's a lot of factors involved. I don't think it's necessarily fair to, just look at that one number. If recruits were exclusively looking at that, man, they wouldn't be able to sign anybody, but they're still lined up 100 deep to go play at Georgia. And why wouldn't they? Look what they've been able to do. So, at the end of the day, like you can only lead somebody so far. You can only preach to them so much. Right. And it falls back on the individual and how he was raised. What kind of importance did the family put on,
right.
Him, the value of him getting an education? I mean, right. You're getting these guys, you're getting these young men when, obviously they still have a lot of development to take place, but they're already 17, 18 years old. What's transpired in those first 17, 18 years is going to have a lot of influence on what they are in the next 5 to 6.
Yeah, no question about it. Not only that, you got to factor name, image, likeness isn't helping matters any either.
Sure.
When you add that into the wrinkle. All right, so we'll turn it over to Bo. Go ahead, Bo.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with everybody here. Like a lot of it has to do with, the rate that people are transferring out if they're not getting enough playing time, guys that are declaring early for the NFL. And, a lot of kids will look at it like a Larry Fitzgerald situation where you leave early, you go, you play, and then, maybe he finishes his degree with University of Phoenix, right? Like those are those kinds of things, right? And that goes against that university, even though it has nothing to do with their curriculum, their teaching ability, anything like that. It just has to do with, they approach it differently. I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, if your main goal is to get to the league and you have a path to get there, rock on. And then once it's done, I mean, you have to decide what it is you're going to do afterwards anyway. So there's nothing wrong with going back to school at that point.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. Let's take this over to Florida State. Okay. Everybody's on point. Again, the only number that stands out to me, as I said it before, it just seems really low at 41%. I could understand if it was like 50, 60, 70%. We're talking 41%.
Well, again, it goes to that sample size conversation, though.
Right.
It's
Right.
it's a much smaller sample size if you have guys that's transferring in, transferring out, because again, those are counting against the university. So you may be talking about in one college 110 guys, and then you may be looking at Georgia, who was just cycling them in like old day Alabama, where you may be grading them based on 30 players.
Yeah,
and that's why I said it's unfair.
I seem to have a show where I could go back on some 9 million times. At this week, I don't have the voice to go out there and lose it over Herman Edwards, but 41% isn't worth screaming over. So we can have a lighthearted moment here on Inside the Pigskin at 41%. Okay, so they are. All right, well, we're going to go to Florida State, which got cold water thrown on its face towards its plan to leave the Atlantic Coast Conference. According to College Sports Only, Brett McMurphy, he said that the Big Ten and the SEC are unlikely to add Florida State if it leaves the ACC and the ACC survives. Though the Big Ten and SEC don't want Florida State because adding Florida State would not make any financial sense at all. And FSU, it also says that FSU's only option would be the Big 12. Now here, get this. They're saying that FSU's been a very disruptive partner. Let me pair this into a point where there's a lawsuit going on with Florida State and Clemson because they're trying to get out earlier is what they are trying to do. Now, I'm only going to say this, okay? And I'm going to turn it over to the rest of you guys. If any of those, I don't think Florida State should ever leave the ACC because I don't think the Big 12 is a viable option. But here's the thing I'm going to predict going on record right now that if there's a Florida school that goes to the Big Ten, it's the Miami Hurricanes. And I'll tell you why it's the Miami Hurricanes. Because the Big Ten wants South Florida's recruiting and their money is what they would, why would you have Tallahassee into the mix when you could go after Miami? Think about it. The Big Ten has handsomely recruited Fort Lauderdale, Miami, West Palm Beach, and this whole area. And what do you have in Tallahassee? Nothing against the people at Florida State, but Tallahassee versus Miami, the Big Ten is going after them. They don't care. And Clemson, because of the fact that it is a powerhouse, Dabo Swinney runs a great program. And I like what you said, Coach. He doesn't believe in the portal. He just does it his own way. All he does is win. So I'm leaving that segment to the rest of you guys to hash it out. But I do believe that Miami is going to the Big Ten. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Florida State, they don't have any legitimate options. So if I were them, I'd just stay put and keep quiet and do what you got to do. Mel, here at the top. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of a traditionalist. So, I mean, this kind of bothers me, this whole talk. Everything is always about money. There's nothing about tradition, it's nothing. Everything is turned away from, really amateur athletics or college athletics into basically, this is just a big business. And I didn't feel that way when I was playing in college football, that it was a business. I felt that it was an opportunity for me to go out there and continue on, meet a lot of great people, get coached up, and then have an opportunity to go to the NFL. Never worried about whether or not my coach was going to be there from one year to the next. Never had to worry about that. It's this college football now this landscape it just kind of bothers me. You just think about it. So what I think what the NCAA did, they made a big mistake, I believe. And I haven't really put the numbers to it, but I think when they allowed each conference to negotiate their own television contracts, I think that's where they have how you got yourself into this problem. If they were able to negotiate their television contracts as one, whether it be the Power 5 conferences or the NCAA or some other entity, sure, there's going to be some institutions that would probably still be upset, but I think you'd have a lot more parity in the sport. Think about it back, and Scott, you remember this back in the day, the NFL, they had a contract for the NFC and the AFC, and the NFC package was considered a more valuable package than the AFC package. Well, eventually that went away where now they just have one standard package, and then, they're going to show some NFC games, some AFC games, and the money is divided evenly. And I think the NCAA missed the mark here where at some point in time they allowed these conferences to get so big and so powerful that now they just can't control them anymore. And, the Big Ten, it doesn't make any sense. If they didn't see that there was any value in Cal and Stanford and bringing them over to the Big Ten, why would they bring Florida State? Yeah, they won a couple championships, but Cal and Stanford are much better institutions for higher learning. But because they aren't in a big TV market, they have no interest in those universities. And so it makes sense to me what you said about them going to the Big 12. It doesn't make sense for them to go to the SEC. The SEC already has a footprint in Florida. Doesn't make any sense, but it does make a tremendous amount of sense for the Big 12 to expand there. So, I don't know. I get kind of frustrated when I saw that. I get kind of frustrated because, I understand we live in a capitalistic society and everybody's trying to make money, but golly, at some point in time, can we do something just for the good of the sport, or that just doesn't matter anymore?
Well, no, I like what you just said. It doesn't matter anymore because that's about what it is. And Mel, I am so proud of you, my friend, for even bringing up the AFC and the NFC because one had a better TV deal than the other. I wonder how many people remember, and I know we did. And the NFC was a much better deal that was actually on CBS. And now you're obviously bringing it back up, where now it's all under one roof. This may be a very awkward analogy, but any more or less, when you look at baseball for a moment, when you had the umpires, you had the National League and the American League umpires, and they put it all under one umbrella, and they're all working together for the same comp. But I'm just trying to use the analogy how it's all lumped together. But that is an excellent point, though. It really is. I don't know whether or not Florida State would be ideal anyways to go to the Big 12. Let's face the reality. The fact I'm about to bring up in a moment, which really isn't one we discussed. It's just it'll just be an add-on here. This goes to show you that, you're right. Nobody's doing anything. We're past where is anything good for the sport. In fact, all of us can remember when each team was only allowed to be on 9 times over given 3 years. I think it was 3 appearances a year, and now it got blown up. So with that said, Mel, good points about that TV contract with the AFC and the NFC, and nobody can figure out this mess if we even tried, and we don't have enough of a show or let alone 5 to try to figure it out. With that said, I'll pass it over to Coach B.
Man, when I got the topics today, I've been waiting to say this, and I know I'm going to say it more than once. Screw Florida State. Like, I don't like them. I have personal reasons.
Okay. But
to me, they just remind me of the whiny crybaby kid. It's like they're crying about not getting in the playoffs and then going just getting annihilated, right? Not beat, annihilated, embarrassed in their bowl game, and then still crying about it. You know what I mean? It's just like, and to Mel's point, when is enough money is enough money? It's like what I just don't get it. It's like the Big 12 now has 18 teams. Or excuse me, the Big 10 has 18. The Big 12 has 16. The SEC got 16 teams. The ACC still has, by my count, 14 teams. Just stay put where you're at. The good thing about the ACC is they can win there. They should win there. I mean, look, you've got Miami and Clemson, but then everybody else is kind of, middle of the road type of programs. They could win there and win big and get into the playoffs. But I don't understand why they're, I just don't get it.
Well, I'll give you something you can't get. By the way, the score is 63-3 in favor of Georgia. So that should make you feel pretty good that your point was decided by 60 points. So go figure.
They didn't have the quarterback. I mean, let's be fair. I mean,
I know. I'm getting to that. Don't steal
but I mean, they didn't. By the time it was time to make the decision, they didn't have them anymore.
No, that's true. Right.
And it hurt the team.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
63-3. We'll leave it at that.
It's not biased. I think that decision would have been made irregardless. If it would have happened to one of the other teams that did make the playoffs, it would have been the same thing. It wasn't a biased decision. It was like, who are the best? Who are the best teams that it's a hard decision for that committee to make. And when you lose a quarterback of that caliber that they lost, they just weren't good enough, and they showed it.
Well, like you said, Coach, you have your reasons why you don't like Florida State. And I'll tell you what, I'll give you 60 reasons why. A lot of people might agree with you, 63-3. And I'll tell you what, folks, you need a three-digit number in the lottery, 63, 633. 63-3 is your three-digit number. If you win, I don't want to know about it. And if you do win, I'm probably going to hear about it anyway, so it doesn't matter. I'll turn it over. I'm going to hand it off to my spokesperson here, Travis Holmes. Did you get any of that? If you did, you're a genius anyway, so go ahead.
I mean, I am a genius, but I still did not get any of that. No.
Good. Stay on track. You're doing great, brother.
All I know, I am not an FSU fan. I am not an FSU apologist. I don't like FSU because I was raised a Gator fan, but I am a UCF fan now. You see the jersey in the background. Shout out to D-Low77. Talking about UCF being a national champion in 2017. You doggone right. No, but FSU left was trying to leave the ACC because the Big Ten and the SEC teams were basically making tens of millions of dollars more per year per school than their university. And they're just saying that these other teams have a competitive advantage that makes it very difficult for recruiting purposes and everything else. I fully understand the argument. They're basically saying that their conference management mishandled their negotiations. I do get that. I fully understand that. It still stinks because there's nobody else who really would want them, and for all the same reasons that you guys kind of already previously mentioned. So they're kind of stuck in that way. But people are blaming FSU. People are blaming FSU for something that's not an FSU specific problem. They're blaming FSU for greed, when the greed was already there for long before FSU was trying to get out of their conference. Like, this thing started with coaches being greedy. Like, let's keep it honest. Let's keep this thing. Like, again, when I was in college football, I do remember it being a business. I played under Coach, Kruzik, who got fired, and then we brought in Coach George O'Leary, and it just basically the whole roster is just cleared out, and all of a sudden you're just bringing in new guys and just trying to, hey, we're bringing in this guy. You got 6 months to go to another school because your scholarship is 1 year renewable deals. Like, this is what it is. That's the business of college football. That's the ugly side of college football that nobody ever wants to talk about when they think these kids have 4-year scholarships. So do I? So at the end of all of this is like when you have coaches leaving every year, and then finally the kids say, I want some of this money, because they're obviously not treating this like this is a 4-year scholarship for me to go to school and build my livelihood. They're treating me like I am a contract employee. So where is my money? Show me the money. And that's what these kids did. And now the universities are kind of having to do the same thing because, well, these other universities are recruiting with more money and more resources. I can't argue against that, but this started with the coaches, and This then went to the players, and then it's just going to the whole system, because that's just capitalism gone wild. That is what it's become. It's basically when hedge funds get involved with athletics. This is what you get, and unfortunately, this is also what you get when you try to make a regional sport a national sport, because this was never meant to have these national championships like this. This whole thing was a regional sport, and now we want to act like we have national champions. That's why we had the whole BCS system and everything else. Like, all of this is a hodgepodge of mess. It's the United States. College football is the United States. and sometimes we're gonna have to go through a civil war to figure this thing out, and that's basically what we're looking at right now. Like they're bumbling trying to figure it out, and it's been a court system of lawsuits trying to mash it all together. That's what we got. It stinks for FSU. It stinks for everybody. It stinks for the fans because we want something better, and we might not get it until some mess happens.
All right, let me tell you one thing. I'll tell you one reason why Miami isn't going to the SEC. The Florida Gators will make sure they don't get there. I have a feeling you may find out about that over the weekend, but I'm not going to let it out too quick. But, hey, Florida Gators aren't going to want Miami in the SEC. I mean, obviously when you had Texas and Oklahoma going over to the SEC is one thing. You had two blue bloods, but Florida don't want Miami in there. So what can I say? I'm just leaving it at there. All right, Poe, you got last word on this topic.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's just expanding on what Travis said, because it essentially is moving towards, because of the capitalism that's in it, it's moving towards the super conferences. Like we've already watched it. We've watched the failing of the Pac-12, and the ACC is doing similar things. It's why people want out, right? They want to go to conferences that are making more money.
Right.
And, the tradition of college football is gone. Like they've been actively trying to kill that for years, and it is well on its way out the door. Do they end up in the Big Ten? No. I think rounding out the 20 will probably be the last two teams of the Pac-12, because that's the only way they'll keep some of their traditional rivalries around. It's the only way I can even see them getting.
If they didn't take Cal and Stanford, they certainly aren't going to take Oregon State and Washington State.
They might for viewership reasons.
Actually. What viewership? That was they didn't take Cal and Stanford for viewership.
I understand. It would simply be some of the rivalries that they have, because I mean, they stayed where they were because they get the last 2 years of the money from the Pac-12. But
they're going to be in the Mountain West next year.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be finding a new conference one way or the other. But if FSU were to actually end up leaving, it probably is for the Big 12, because they're the one that isn't a 20-team league yet.
And the Big 12 won't pay them what they want. Like that's the problem. So they don't need a much bigger chunk. They're going to need a much bigger chunk of the pie.
They don't have that marquee program anymore like they used to with Oklahoma and Texas. They're gone now. So I mean, that's a good opportunity for them, and they might find themselves in the same situation they're in the ACC.
And they probably will. It's just the NCAA finding its way into these super conferences, because they seem to be looking to let that happen.
Well,
FSU was that 6 that still thinks they're a 9. They used to be bad, but they ain't there no more.
All right, well, let me add a little bit of icing on top of this cake, okay? This past weekend, FSU lost to Georgia Tech 24-21 in Dublin, Ireland. Mike Norvell is 2-9 without Jordan-Travis as a starter, and 29-9 as a starter. And this isn't a topic. This is just a little bit of a fact here to prove that every one of you guys are right. That's all it is. Period. I mean, until Mike Norvell can find a quarterback that can win, other than the fact that his name isn't Jordan Travis, no relation to Travis Holmes. Okay, just kidding with you. And Great Scott, which I had a supermarket named after me many years ago in Detroit, and Mel will know that because we used to have a Great Scott. Remember that many years ago? I'm telling you,
sure did.
That. Yeah, so we got to make sure we have the Travis and the Scott connection. Whatever, who cares? But I'm not giving them one. All right, but with that said, I'll just have Katie Evelyn come in here and give us a station break. But, I just want to throw that Florida State can't say nothing anymore now. They already got a loss before a lot of them even have to begin with. Yeah, I didn't see that. I don't know where I was at that day, but I wasn't there.
Yeah, good game between supposed good team and a supposedly a below average one.
24-21. 24-21. I think the only thing I'll say this before I turn it over to Candy, I think the most intriguing game of the weekend, I don't even know what the score is, I don't even care, was Delaware State traveling all the way to Hawaii and missing the bus the day before, and only 12,000 people showed up on campus there. Can you imagine what the Delaware State Hornets had to pay to get out there? Let me add a little bit of a tidbit to this one. Few years back, when Delaware State took a non-conference game against the Michigan Wolverines, they got $500,000 to go to Ann Arbor. No, they didn't go to they didn't go to Hawaii, but they forfeited a conference game is what they did just to take the Michigan money. So to think that Delaware State was going to go to Hawaii and then miss the bus, oh my goodness! And I don't think Aloha Stadium's in use because they're building a new place. 12,000 people to go about. It almost seems like 12,000 miles. No, maybe not that long. But you want to talk about the weirdest thing in college football. Delaware State going to Hawaii in front of 12,000 people. Seriously? I had to get the word seriously in. Sorry, guys.
That's how many fans showed up to that game?
12,000 people. Yeah, there's over. It's an on-campus makeshift situation is what you want to call it. I can't really describe it any other way. I have to tell you, though, one of my good friends is the athletic director. I'd love to get him on one day, Craig Angelos, who used to be at FAU, but he's not anymore. So how about that? The Delaware State, I don't even know what the score is. I'm sure Candy Eveling will take it up before long. But think about Delaware State in Hawaii. My goodness. All right, Candy, go ahead. Take it away. Station break.
So you are listening to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. If you see the red subscribe button, hit it, like us, share us with all your friends, family, anybody that you think would like to enjoy this programming. Monday nights we talk on Fire Up Florida. We talk hockey. We also talk Monday nights on 108 Stitches baseball talk. Tuesday night is Inside the Pigskin. Wednesday nights is Sports Exchange. Thursday nights is Fire Up. You never know what we're going to be talking about on those 2 nights, so stay tuned for those. The South Florida Tribune published a book last November, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by your host, Scott Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, and George Eichhorn wrote the foreword. Talks about Scott's 40-plus years in the business and how the media has changed over those years. You can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. You can also find a link on our website, which is www.southfloridatribune.com, where you also can find a link to our merchandising store, where you can get yourself a South Florida Tribune hat, sweatshirt, tank top, shorts. Go to the store, figure out something to buy, and wear it proudly. You can also listen to our podcast wherever you get your podcast, iHeartRadio, Google, Apple, wherever you'd like to. Our website, again, is www.southfloridatribune, where you can get Scott's articles. You can get transcripts from the Dolphins, the Jaguars, the Lions. We also have football information from, yes, FSU, who we just talked about, the Miami Hurricanes, the Florida Gators, the FAU Owls, and the USF Bulls. So if you were into college football in Florida, you got to go to our website. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott, 954-304-4941. If you missed any of this, it scrolls on the bottom, or you can hit rewind and replay. Back to the program.
Thank you, Candy. Well done. All right, let's talk about the Tennessee Titans. They're trading quarterback Malikwillis, who, by the way, is 25 years of age, to the Packers for a 2025 7th-round pick to back up Jordan Love. Fresh start for Willis, who joined the Titans as a former day 2 pick, but hasn't been able to make an impact in the NFL. In 11 appearances, he has 3 starts since entering the league. The 2022 3rd-round pick has no touchdowns versus 3 interceptions. And those starts, obviously, were when Ryan Tannehill got hurt. So he completed 51% of his passes, but he has rushed for 123 yards and a touchdown. I'm going to start on this one again. First of all, I think this is going to be a steal for the Green Bay Packers. I really do. To think that, number one, they'll finally have a chance to work under Matt LaFleur, and all you gave up with a 7th-round pick just for an insurance policy for Jordan Love. I think the upside on Malikwillis is going to be really good. He played at Liberty University under Hugh Freeze. I love the move for the Packers. The Titans have a pretty good quarterback room, mind you, with Will Levis, and Mason Rudolph made the team, so they're not hurting either. But I like the move a lot more for the Green Bay Packers than most people might think. So with that said, Bo, what are your thoughts about this?
I like the move. It's a super athletic guy. I mean, he wasn't going to do anything with the Titans anyway, so it gives him a new place to be. I could see them using him, kind of in some gadget plays as well. I mean, he's quite the athlete.
Okay, Travis.
I laughed when you told that lie. That they have a good quarterback room in Tennessee. I couldn't keep a straight face.
I didn't
Yeah,
say
I mean,
great. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to keep any
you
straight.
said good, and words have meaning, sir. I've seen Will Levis play NFL football. That man is not good. That man is throwing rocks into an ocean and just hoping they don't get intercepted. That is no. We have to tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do they have oceans in Tennessee?
Nah, man.
Well, then let's just talk. Then let's talk about good here. You're saying throw rocks, but we'll just say in lakes. Just kidding with you. We have to have a little bit of dialogue there.
Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. If those are your options, God bless you. That's a rebuild waiting to happen next year. That's my personal opinion.
Okay.
Just being honest with you. I'm just trying to be clear about this.
I can handle. At least you're being nice about it.
But then, nevertheless, the Titans trading the Malikwillis to the Packers. Great job for the Packers. I mean, again, it's a late round draft pick, a 7th round draft pick, to see what they have in him. If you lose it, who cares? I mean, in reality, the draft ends these days, especially with NIL money and everything, after the 5th round. Your 7th and 6th round draft picks at this point is just basically early undrafted free agencies, so you can get some primary. But overall, that's what this is. So good no risk or low risk move for the Packers, and for the Titans. Good luck with that rebuild next year.
All right. Well, at least I got to give Travis Holmes credit. Okay, he doesn't go Herman Edwards on me, even if he didn't like my choice of words for what I considered a good quarterback. We'll see if I'm right at the end, and it performs better than we think. That's why we have plenty of shows but I'll give him his due. Okay, at least we agree on one thing, Travis, and the fact that it's a good move for the Packers because it's a low risk move. Whether we agree in the quarterback room, guess what? We have more episodes coming, so we'll see what happens. Good stuff. All right, Coach.
Man, I don't have a lot to say about this one, but I'm going to go back to Georgia Tech beating Florida State. So screw Florida State. Georgia Tech ran the football up their butt. I don't care about the quarterback not being there. They're going to get a defense that can stop the run, because Georgia Tech lined up, played Mel Farr Jr. style football, and just mashed the crap out of them and made them look silly. And so all that
quarterback was there. They had DJU, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But look, Georgia Tech ran the football up their behinds. All right, and then just to point out your Delaware State comment, Todd, or excuse me, Scott. October 6th, 1990. I was part of the Maine Black Bears coaching for the Maine Black Bears.
Right.
We flew commercial all the way out to Honolulu to get blasted by the Hawaii Rainbows back then, 44-3. We only scored a field goal in that game. But I want to say that I don't know what the payday was. I think it wasn't like it is now, but we flew commercial. You know how hard it is to fly with the football team commercial? And we flew out of Bangor, Maine, flew from Bangor to Boston. I think it was Boston to Dallas, and then from Dallas to Honolulu. And then coming back, I don't even remember. But, everybody's got to load their own gear on the plane and all that stuff. It was a nightmare.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you have a game to play the next week?
I can't remember. That's a long time ago. I think we probably had.
No, but you remember the 40-3 loss.
Yeah. I remember. Matter of fact, I think we probably did play the following week. We played Saturday. We didn't get back on campus till Monday morning. I know that. I remember that. So
yeah.
Hey, by the way, Katie, I need you to do a little research on that Delaware State Hawaii game. I'm not leaving this show until I have that score continue on.
Scott, I'm still trying to figure out how they scheduled a bus. You said they took a bus twice.
Yeah, I think they ended up missing the bus or something. I don't know. That was a crazy bus story. It was delayed by about a day.
They missed their flight.
I don't know.
Sounds like we all have some bad Hawaii stories. Is what I'm hearing.
Well, there was a travel situation, I thought, regarding a bus, but either way, Delaware State Hornets going to Hawaii in a substandard stadium, a temporary facility.
Guess who the head coach was for the Maine Black Bears in 1990?
No, you told me.
It was Kirk Ferentz.
Really? No kidding. Wow.
Hmm.
See, look, you never know what you learn for on Inside the Pig Pen. We got a coach that's been through it all.
I'm just showing my age. I'm showing my age. That's all.
Well, don't worry. I've shown mine. Anytime you have a doctor that tells you have a 50-year-old body, a 50-year-old man and a 90-year-old body, we'll see who's showing age. Yeah. All right, Candy, I need that score. Otherwise, it's going to bother me.
The score was Hawaii 35, Delaware State 14.
Well, at least they scored 14 points. Anyways.
Nice.
All right. Well, at least I don't have to worry about that one. All right. Continue on whatever topic you want, Coach. The Delaware State one or the Florida State ran it, doing the mashed potatoes at Georgia Tech. And I got news for you. Were they drinking green beer out in Dublin?
I bet they were.
Yeah, but that's probably why they didn't have Gus out there making their winning field goals. The old kicker, the mule. I like to bring on Gus every time we get a chance to come on here, and I'll continue to do it. But I'll say this much: the only Detroit reference I'll make tonight, Jake Bates did make the Detroit Lions. So there you go. We don't need Jeremy Ballrick to go out there and come up with that Detroit reference. I was good enough of that one on my own. Anything else?
The guy pulled his hamstring, right? He's going to be out for the year. So I mean, what other choice did they have?
You tell me.
I don't know who else they had in camp. So I mean, I don't know.
Well, we got a lot of crack statisticians. So, Coach, where are we? Are we on Georgia Tech? Are we on Delaware State?
I'm done.
I didn't know. I listen. Let me tell you something. One thing about Coach Bono.
The topic was the Titans. I just didn't have a whole lot.
Oh, he didn't care about that one. That's okay.
I wanted to go back and make sure that I could say screw FSU one more time.
And right. You know what? I like you said, Coach, mission accomplished. Okay, Mel, then you got the final word, if you want it, on Malikwillis.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to watch him in high school. They played against my kids, my daughter's team. And, he started out at Auburn, then he went to Liberty, kind of caught fire over there. But if you look at him, and he was, he could have been drafted anywhere between the first round and, Mr. Irrelevant. He ended up going in the third round. Either people loved him or they didn't particularly care about him. If you look at him, he's somewhat like Caleb in the fact that everything that he does is off script. He doesn't do anything on time. And that's his biggest problem, is that he doesn't throw the football on time. So I don't see this as being a win for the Packers because I haven't seen anything from him in the couple years that he's been in the league where that shows he can throw on time. Now, he's super athletic. He can maybe make some plays when he gets outside the pocket sometimes. But for the most part, in this game, you have to be able to make plays from the pocket. You got to be able to throw on time. You have to be able to make some throws on time. I haven't seen anything from him that demonstrates to me that he'll be able to do that. So I don't see this as a win for the Packers. When I saw it, I was like, man, what are they doing? I mean, maybe they see something that I don't see. Again, I'm not there. I don't break down film. I don't know. But what my eyes tell me, my lion eyes tell me, is I haven't seen anything yet to demonstrate to me that he should even still be in the league right now at this time because he cannot make plays from the pocket on time.
Well, then I'll fall back on what Bo said because I can always fall back on Bo. And by the way, should everybody know that Bo and Coach Bono have a show on Wednesday nights at 4:00, I believe, Eastern time. So we got CB and BC. I can at least get that out there and go figure. But the reality of the situation is when you're a 7th round pick, is it basically a glorified version of an undrafted free agent to begin with when you're talking 6th and 7th round? Although don't tell that to Tom Brady, okay, and the other people that make it that way. All right, with that said, okay, we have enough show for Bo to even go ahead and be a part of this topic because even though I don't have a big voice, at least I can still move it quick, okay, so we can talk about a lamb. No, we're not talking about little, what's that song, Little Caesar's Got a Lamb? I don't know, whatever, whatever. But Cowboy, I don't even know what the song is. So I'm losing it. Okay.
What Tourette's looks like, right?
What's that? I don't even know what it is. I know there's a lamb reference out there that I'm using that word dementia spelled DUMBMENTIA. If you wonder why it's not in the dictionary, because I made it up. But anyways, we'll go ahead and talk about Ceedeelamb making a little bit of money. And a lot of it on a 4-year, $136 million extension. He'll get $100 million guaranteed, $38 million signing bonus, making him the second highest paid non-QB in NFL history. It won't matter because, we'll see if Jerry Jones is willing to double that cash out there for Dak Prescott, who I don't think is be worth what they're going to pay him anyway, but at least CeeDee's going to get paid anyhow. So with that said, Bo, what are your thoughts about the move?
Yeah, I mean, he was going to get paid somewhere. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if this ends up making Dallas better, because if they say, obviously they got this deal done, it's got to be relatively backloaded, because Dak is a cap hit of, 65 million this year, and then I believe 40 something next year. So, I mean, if they get his done, if they do actually get Dak's done, and then they get Micah's done, that team is going to be in the craziest cap hell in 4 years, because of where their cap is now. Everything is going to be so backloaded that, man, it's going to be rough. So do I think it's great for him? Sure. Do I think their team gets better for it? Definitely not.
Well, your man Robert Wardell says still got to pay Dak and Parsons what's left. Yep. Exactly. Well, you can always, if it isn't good enough, you can always go to the United Football League, and maybe you can entice some guys from the Canadian Football League to come over, because that's probably what you get the pennies on the dollar after what they're going to have down in Dallas to begin with. So I don't know, but yeah, that's definitely one of those situations where the wide receivers got paid. What's left for Dak? And Micah Parsons, I think, is one of the best defensive players in the game. With that said, they'll turn it over to Mel.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I don't understand. There's a couple of issues I have. Number one is, why would you allow him to hold out when you knew you were going to pay him anyway? So either you had a little deal in place, where you're wink, like, hey, we're going to go ahead and drag this out. You don't need to come to training camp. We know who you are. We know what you're about. We'll have the strength and conditioning coach go over there with you and put you through some drills. But so that Dallas Cowboys can be number one topic on all the sports radio and all sports talk shows, we're going to just hold out. And because it doesn't, one thing I know, and the coach probably knows this too, is when guys hold out, they don't tend to necessarily have a good season that year, the year that they hold out. Typically, particularly in the position that he plays, he's going to have some type of muscle injury, hamstring, quad, something of that nature is going to get pulled. He's going to pull, and he's not going to have the type of standout season, because training camps mean something. Otherwise, we wouldn't have them. They wouldn't have them. They mean something. So missing training camp, why would you allow this guy to miss training camp if you knew you're going to sign him anyway? Sign the guy, pay him the money, make sure he's in training camp so that you can get your money's worth for him. Now, speaking of money, I don't understand why you pay a wide receiver 100 whatever they paid him, $136 million. The guy, he touches the ball 8 times a game. Okay, he averaged, he had 1,700 yards last year. It's like 13 yards a touch. So what is it? I understand. So what is it? It's because chicks dig the long ball. Is that what it is now? So now it's Aaron Judge versus Pete Rose, right? So we don't like the guy who has the most hits. We like the guy who hits the ball the furthest. Okay, it's Aaron Judge versus Ichiro Suzuki, or whatever the guy's name was. We don't like the guys that just, Rod Carew, that just slap hit a base hit and get on base all the time. They don't want to see that. They want to see the guys that come up there like Aaron Judge, who's 6'8", 6'9", and just hits the cover off the ball. Is that what it is now? You're going to pay the guys all this money. We don't care about hitting for average. We just want to see the guys hit for power. So you don't want to see a guy like a John Riggins or something like that who's going to get you 4 or 5 tough yards. He's going to carry the ball 300 times a year, maybe 400 times a year, and he's going to earn that paycheck. This guy's going to sit there on the outside. He's going to touch the ball 8 times a game. That's it. And you're just hoping that he's going to be able to get on top of somebody and score a long touchdown. Is that what this is about? Or he's going to be able to make somebody miss? I don't understand it. I don't understand why we pay these guys all this money. They don't touch the ball that often. They're dependent. If they don't have somebody that can throw them the football, they're worthless. A running back, it's easy to get the ball to him, and he's going to be there. He's dependable. You're going to look for him not only to carry the ball, but you're always going to look for him to catch the ball in the passing game as well. So this guy's going to have 300-400 touches, but you want to pay a guy $30-some-odd million a year that's going to touch the ball 8 times, and he's dependent upon somebody getting the ball to him. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
All right, you know what? We're going to have a new segment called the Rant of the Night. And right now, I want everybody to say hands up if Mel's going to get their vote. I know I've got mine up there. All hands, Coach Bono and I. And since I'm not able to yell anymore because doctors are telling me to don't give up the Motor City man mouth, but we don't want you to be Motor City mile mouth. Let your people do it for you. Mel Farts did it for me. I don't, Good job, Mel. You go a long way, brother. Okay, good stuff. Okay. I get to do that little soft stuff. No, don't put that. All right. So who do we got left here on this topic?
I mean,
Mel threw me off.
I still have to go, but I also wanted to make sure I give Bo his opportunity to say his goodbyes before I'm mid speech.
All right. So while you're at it, then, if you have to get going, what are your thoughts real quick on the topic? Let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
So you can find me here. You can find me here on Tuesdays. You can find me on my YouTube channel at Football-Talk, and of course, all the socials. Football Talk with Bo. Do got to jump out of here. Thanks for having me on, guys. Always fun. See y'all next week.
Bo, it's a pleasure having you. We appreciate you big time. And that's okay. Good job, Mel. I'm glad you ate up all that time to talk about that. Unbelievable. All right. So who's left on it? We know Mel already said his beat.
I mean, that's just me. Okay. Well, I think just me. Oh, it's actually Coach Bo has. Coach Bo has.
Sorry, we got time.
My apologies. But then, at the contract's actually not that bad. And I say not that bad for it being a receiver, because the cost of a house is the cost of a house. This is what the cost of a receiver is these days. And it's only going to get more obscene and more crazy. And I fully understand your point, Mel, especially when you're talking about the devaluation of the running back position and the insane explosion of the wide receiver room, especially how infrequently they touch the ball. I hear you. I'm with you. But it is what it is. This is the cost of a house in California. I don't know what to tell you. It's just, this is what it is. So unfortunately, but looking at the actual contract, it's just a few-year extension because it was the extension of his rookie deal. When Bo was talking, I was looking at the contract breakdown. Okay. I mean, they have an out after 2027. It's not terrible. It was $100 million guaranteed. That's a very big number, but that's basically the first 3 years of the contract. And then they have an opportunity to get out of there. And we know that the Cowboys have been planning this thing to blow this thing up after this season. We've talked about that on a few podcasts, on a few shows already. Right. And it just feels like they're going to be blowing this thing up next year if it doesn't go right. So at least they'll have a building block. You will have a receiver, which a lot of the time is one of the harder things to find in this NFL. You have a veteran receiver who you will have for 3 to 4 years.
And who's going to throw it? Trey Lance?
Oh, that's a whole nother conversation. I mean, that's a whole segment of a show right there. Who's going to be the Cowboys quarterback next year?
Because if it's Trey Lance, I haven't seen anything that shows me that he's going to be able to get CeedeeLamb the ball where he can catch it 135 times to where he can make that contract worth the money that Jerry paid him.
Matter of fact, you know who's going to be the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys next year? The other legend at the bank,
Cooper Rush.
And I know they'll pay him. Kirk Cousins.
No.
Well, you know what?
Because Mike Zimmer's there.
Well, resetting the market. Let's go.
Well, Travis, if you're looking to turn a few heads, you just did it with that comment because we can't really debate the fact that Kirk Cousins is a legend at the bank. I mean, give me his agent, or give me Bobby Bonillas or somebody, because obviously Cousins got a good agent. I'm telling you.
And any opportunity that man has to reset the market, he gonna take it.
And now, Coach, we know you didn't really care about we know that you didn't particularly care about Malikwillis, but I have a feeling you might have an opinion on this one, right?
Well, I love it. I love it. First of all, congratulations to CD. Congratulations to his agent. I'm all for guys getting paid, and I have no issues with that. I love the Cowboys for this reason: is the drama that they bring, because we know that at some point, whether it's early in the season or hopefully it's late in the season like it was last year or towards the middle, they're going to implode. They're going to fucking fall apart. Excuse my language. The wheels.
You got all these guys that have come a long way in my system. I love it. All three of you guys.
The wheels are going to fall off. There isn't a more passionate fan base in the NFL than the Cowboy fans, and the world is going to end because the Cowboys are losing, and everybody, and Jerry's going to go on and do 50 interviews, 49 of which he shouldn't do, and kind of explain his stuff. And Mike McCarthy's going to get fired, and Zimmer's going to make a run for the job, and then we're going to have a bunch of drama. It's like a soap opera. I think that the Dallas Cowboys give us the 24/7, 365 hard knocks, whether we want it or not.
I mean, they could have their own channel. But
you know what, Coach? Do me one small favor, would you? Just one small favor. I had a chance to interview Jerry Jones when I was out at Sun Devil Stadium, and I asked him about the Lions Thanksgiving game when Kansas City wanted to take it. Jerry was really nice to me. I mean, I'm one of those.
Jerry Jones is a great man. Great guy.
But let me finish my point, because I can't go ahead and Herman Edwards this one. I have to be very conservative to make it to the end. Okay, but I'm gonna tell you, when I asked Jerry Jones about the Thanksgiving, Scott, there's no way Detroit. Let's see how I do the imitation thing here. Travis, you're my. You have to judge me on imitation only. Scott, Detroit will not lose that Thanksgiving game if I have anything to do with it. Period. So, because they've always had it. They had it early. We got it. And guess what happened? They got the evening one. Detroit never lost the game. That's it. Okay. I'm one of all those interviews. So you know what? I was happy about it. At Sun Devil Stadium long before they played at the new place, whatever they call it. But go ahead. But no, Coach, listen. So here, I have to say, today is August 27th, 2024. I've had Mel with a good rant. I've had Coach Bono, pick apart a topic he didn't really care about and decided to defer on the other good stuff. And now he's hammering Jerry Jones. And Travis is making sure that I make it through the end of the show to make sure he's watching every move that I make, that I haven't Herman Edwards did all night. And I won't, because if I do, my doctors are already going to tell me you're going to have vocal cord surgery anyway. So prolong the inevitable, because that's probably where it's going to be. And even then, I'm still going to keep doing this stuff with you guys anyways, no matter if I have to do it through AI or just plain old intelligence or artificial intelligence. I don't know anything about this technical stuff, so don't come to me for it anyways. But anyway, if you get any of that, Travis, don't worry. It doesn't matter. It's all on tape. You can always rewatch it again, because we all know what our film was when he first started in this business to begin with. So, yeah, you're right. The Cowboys will blow it up anyways. They'll have a good receiver. The problem is they got Ezekiel Elliott, and they paid for him over at the dollar store because he couldn't get a job anywhere else anyway. So they got him at the dollar store. They let Amari Cooper out the door. We all know how that worked out. So CD, now I've had lamb for meat. Did they make lamb for hamburgers? So they got that hamburger, CD lamb. I'm just kidding, because I don't know a lot about food, but I know that I had a lamb burger one time out in Detroit. But now they got a lamb burger for a quarterback who we don't know is going to be the bun to put between the lamb. Forget it. That's a bad joke. But anyways, nobody understands it, so don't worry about it. Okay, Coach, it is what it is. But what's going to be left of the Cowboys? Guess what? Jimmy Johnson won't be able to swindle the Minnesota Vikings again to try to get them out of another one. Oh, of course, if they only win one game, it would only be 1-16, and until they get to the 18-game schedule when it's 1-17. Anybody ever in any of that?
I ain't gonna lie, Scott. You just lost me, man.
I know. That's exactly why I did it, so I could lose people. I'd like to go in a lot of different directions. You know what? Because you know what will happen in football? A lot of quarterback, when they're on their heels, what they'll do is they'll be on their back foot, throw it all over the place. I like kidding around with all these off the wall stats, because I think that when you put all these off the wall stats and you put things in perspective when you do this kind of stuff, is we're just trying to make light of one thing. It's a game, is what it is, right? We all know that football is a game, right? Okay, some play it better than others. So no matter what we talk about, how bad it is, guess what? The owners are making money, and you know what? And they're making a lot of it. Why do you think the NFL is valued at $18 billion, right? $18 billion. Hockey's at $6 billion. Baseball and the NBA are at $9 billion. That's where I was going with all this. So when I was out there just kidding around with all these crazy stats, remember one thing, folks. If you take something out of this whole thing, the NFL has been around for a lot of years, and this league will swallow you up, as they have so many other guys that lost jobs. And that's all there is to it. And that's why I'm having as much fun with this crew, because this is a crew that I can tell you right now, and I'm not trying to take credit for it. Travis Holmes when I started out with this guy, and look where he's come. He's done an unbelievable job. Mel's been with me a lot longer when I was with the late Peter Ween, and I see that Mel has the rant of the day. And Coach Bono, who would have thought when you got involved with me, you'd have your own show with Bo, and you have a book coming up. Even if I can't talk, I'll still be able to write. That thing called a pen doesn't work. And I got these three guys here. So even if I'm not feeling good, I'm going to will myself to be with you three and Bo, no matter what comes out of my mouth, whether it makes any darn sense at all. The only thing I won't say that I don't like is the word Okay, but that's beside the point. That's just a little thing from me. Get on. I'm a chum. No, kidding. Or if you like me anyways. But anyways, that's what we've got for you tonight, folks. All over the place. We're talking about Delaware State, of all places. Coach, Maine Black Bears. Who would have thought we would get that on tonight? Good stuff. Good stuff. And by the way, you know where I'm headed this weekend with Candy Emily?
Gainesville.
In Gainesville, Miami Hurricanes against the Florida Gators, who, by the way, like I say, they don't want Miami in the SEC. And I'm going to get my first crack at Cam Ward. And I will say one thing about this, what I really am looking forward to about this game, Mariocristobal is in year number 3. First 2 years, he acclimated himself to the program. I think that this is the year the Miami Hurricanes finally get on the right track and start showing us what the University of Miami football is really all about. Coach, let me ask you this. You've been in college. You've coached at the head coaching level in college at least, right? When you say that by the third year, okay, that a coach should be able to make a turn for the better, at least if you have 3 years to turn a program and put his stamp on the program?
Yeah, because by that time, you've established your culture. Hopefully you haven't had a whole lot of changes or haven't had to make a lot of changes staff-wise, which I know Mario has, but that's kind of a natural thing. But it's more like the culture of the program. You start getting your own players in there, which all of that stuff is changed now with the, obviously with the transfer portal and all that stuff. But certainly, 3 years should be plenty of time to turn something around. It really depends on kind of what you inherited to start off with.
Mariocristobal knows this area better than anybody outside of Howard Schnellenberger. Howard Schnellenberger, not a recruiter, and Mariocristobal certainly does. I'll be curious to see what Coach Cristobal does. And again, we're looking forward to taking a trip. Candy's never been at the swamp before. I was there once with Florida Atlantic, so it'll be a treat for her being able to take pictures on that field. She's going to find out that those 80,000, 90,000 people at the swamp are pretty loud. And
it's a tough place to play. I mean, that's a great atmosphere there in Gainesville. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll tell you, I have to make a confession. When I went over to Camp Randall, is that what they call it out in Wisconsin? And they did that jump around. I thought they had an earthquake in the stadium. I thought it was going to fall from the 9th floor of the press box all the way down the thing. I didn't know anything about the jump around thing. I thought when they say, you say the earth moves under your feet, boy, it did over at Camp Randall. I didn't know what was going on. And then only to find out later on that night the elevator was broken. I had to not down 9 sets of floors just to get down there.
Do they still do the Budweiser song at Camp Randall?
I don't know. I have to ask Candy that. I don't even know. That's
but they say instead of saying Budweiser, if you said Wisconsin, you said it all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So let me ask you guys a question. You have any parting shots?
No, I had my parting shot.
Yeah. Well, you had your parting shot 10 times over. All right. So your parting shot, Mel, is I'll let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
Hey,
I loved your parting shot. It was classic.
Well, thank you. You can get a hold of me on all the social media at Melfar Jr. You can follow what we have going on for the youth at Melfar Superstarfoundation.org and find out what we have going on down here in Georgia and also up in Michigan.
All right. Go ahead, Coach.
You can find me here on Tuesday nights and with Bo on Coach's Corner on Wednesdays. Social media limited to LinkedIn, but if you're on there, please hit me up. And thanks again for having me. My parting shot is screw Florida State. It's so tragic that they're eliminated from the playoffs in week 1 with a loss to Georgia Tech because Georgia Tech did 3 things. They ran the ball by.
Well, they got 12 teams now, so there's still hope. Keep hope alive.
I love I really
true.
Have enjoyed your passion on this subject tonight, Coach B.
Keep hope alive. They still
you get an A You get an A.
Honestly, I don't have anything against the institution or their players or the coaching staff. There's one person there that I just don't care for, and I'm not going to give him I'm not even going to bring him up because he's not worth it.
Well, you don't have to. All I can tell you is your disdain for Florida State has definitely been very well heard tonight. And by the way, I'll say one thing about LinkedIn. I really love LinkedIn. I think it's great. I mean, you know what? When it comes to our industry, you really have to have it or you're in trouble, because that's how we are able to bring a lot of us together. I met Mel on LinkedIn. I met you on LinkedIn. And of course, Travis, I met him up in the press box. So LinkedIn's important. All right, Travis, go ahead.
You can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes. That over here. Yeah, there we go. You can find my writings covering the Jacksonville Jaguars at bigcatcountry.com. 3 articles up today. Another 53 thoughts about the Jaguars, 53-man roster. That's coming out tomorrow morning. We have the Duval Dive podcast. That's every Friday at 11 a.m. We actually just had a special episode right before this podcast, so definitely take a look at the Duval Dive YouTube channel, like and subscribe. With Jamal St. Cyr of News for Jacks, we just talked about the Jaguars roster cut down right before this, so definitely after you hang up with us, take a look at that, like and subscribe, and we appreciate you always for having me, Scott.
There you go. My pleasure for all three. Yeah. All three of you guys are superstars, in my opinion. With that said, Candy, take us home.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book last November called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by your host, Scott Morganroth. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Apple, and Google Books. You can also find a link to it on www.southfloridatribune.com, which is our website, where you can find that link. You can find Scott's writings. You can see some of my pictures. There is also a link to our store for South Florida Tribune merchandise, or Motor City Madmouth merchandise if you'd prefer. Go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. iHeartRadio, Google, Apple, Spotify, CastBox, Deezer, Geo7. We're there. If you see the red subscribe button on the bottom lower right-hand corner, please hit subscribe, like, share us with all your friends and family. Monday nights, we talk hockey, and then we talk baseball. Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesday nights on Sports Exchange, you never know what we're going to be talking about. And the same on Thursday nights on Fire Up. If you want to listen, let's see, I already said that part. I'm sorry. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott, 954-304-4941. If you missed any of this, it's been scrolling along the bottom, or just hit rewind if you're listening to us. And last but not least, at Tribune South on Twitter or X, depending on which you prefer. Scott, back to you.
I'm going to tell you something. Candy does an unbelievable job on Fire Up. So, Coach, if you ever are up a little bit late and you want to go on Fire Up with Jeremy B. and Ralph, you can do it. Candy runs a great show. Mel, just so you know, we're much different on the air, but you know what? She's got a show that's just for the ages, and it's hers. I stay off of it because I just have too much fun watching her do it. So, but meanwhile, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight here on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. And on behalf of both.
Inside the pigskin, not baseball talk.
What did I just say? Forget about it.
You said 108 Stitches Baseball Talk.
Well, I was thinking about last night. Let's try it again. Yeah, so to show you when we're streaming live. So I want to thank, it's called an audio and visual replay. I want to thank everybody else for joining us on Inside the Pigskin. On behalf of Candy, Bo Crowd, Travis, Melfar, the man of the night with the rant, and Coach with a close second with his rant, even though he hates FSU. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us once again on Inside the Bigten. Catch you next Tuesday night. Have a good weekend.